Hi friends, welcome to the Lost Solo channel where I share my experience with portable and not so high-end and not so audio gadgets. It is extremely difficult to tell in a short video about such a wonderful thing as the DX300 player. Well, really, what am I going to tell you? About 2 batteries in it? About 4 Cirrus Logic DAC? That it has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 660 processor? About Android 9 installed? All this can be easily read on the official page of the player and in a dozen of other reviews. It is clear that this is a high-level player, considered high-end, and of course it has everything you need to match this level. The basic thing to know is that audio processing is completely separate from operating system tasks, which automatically leads to reduced jitter and more accurate sound on the analog output. The 2 batteries were also used for a reason. The one that is larger at 4000 mAh feeds the digital part of the player, and the smaller one at 2000 mAh supplies power to the analog part. To make it clear, I'll explain simply. The analog part works for the amplifier and outputs, the digital parts for the DAC and for Android. The effect is the same, the power is separate, mutual interference excluded or minimized, at the end there is a good sound, everyone is happy. Well, the batteries are enough for 13-14 hours of use. Processor, as you might guess, is smart enough to make Android just fly, and given the huge and simply gorgeous screen, this is important. The amplifiers of the DX300 are made replaceable. A fully balanced amplifier AM11 is included in the standard supply. It is how already the second revision. This is a great amplifier with great performance and great sound. He has as many as 3 outputs, the usual 3.5mm and 2 balanced 2.5mm and 4.4mm. Everything is perfect, although it is a mystery to me why the 2.5mm output is still in use. For me personally, it is obvious that 4.4mm is more reliable and more convenient, and if you want to be extravagant, then the adapter from the small to large plug is somehow more logical than from the large to a small one. But this is a matter of taste. Plus, I'm looking forward to other amp models, especially the tube amp. As for the inputs and outputs, the ones mentioned above, except 2.5mm, again to the question of its relevance, are able to work both in the headphone output mode and as line outputs. The USB-C connector is used for charging and as input when the player is used an external DAC, in other words, as an external sound card. The USB-C connector is used for charging and as an input when the player is used as an external DAC, in other words, as an external sound card. The same connector works as an output as a SPD-IF signal source through a special adapter. Of course, the DX300 works as a Bluetooth receiver and transmitter. The player's appearance is very catchy. Of course, the first thing you notice is a huge screen that takes up the entire front panel. The screen quality is not worse than in iPhones or flagship Samsungs. Responsive with excellent color reproduction, it is great for watching videos, movies, etc., since the processor does an excellent job. In fact, this is like flagship smartphone, only without camera and a SIM card. It has everything, so can be safely used for internet communication. YouTube, TikTok and other Instagrams are at your service. The side edge of player has a small angle for easy access to the volume control, which is also the power button, and access to the player control buttons. I have a blue colored player and see how nicely the gradient is done on the back panel. In the kit, by the way, there is a good leather case. The volume control wheel, which initially caused loud explosive sounds on the internet, actually look organic, stylish and very convenient. Rotates with such pleasant light clicks. But in your pocket, of course, it gets in the way. If, of course, you basically have a pocket of sufficient size. In summer clothes, this can be a problem. At the top of the screen there is an LED strip that glows in a different color depending on the type and quality of the file being played. It works in a standard player and in Tidal apps. But the backlight can be turned off in the menu if it is annoying. In general, you can refuse to use Android if you switch to Mango operating system, which in fact is the interface of the Mango player itself. By the way, the digital battery is consumed more slowly this way. To be honest, despite the fact that player's interface is quite convenient and familiar, I still mostly use USB audio player. In addition to a more convenient organization for me, it also works directly with TDAL, which is important to me. As for the MQA format, USB player can only expand it up to 24 bits 44 kHz version, but there is nothing you can do about it. If you want to expand the MQA completely, you have to switch to Mango player, which can do it 8 times, but without streaming. Or you can go for TDAL app, which expands files to 24 bits and 384 kHz format. If we talk about formats, then everything is supported, so it is unlikely that there will be problems with it. In our time in general, few players have issues with formats. The performance of the player is very competitive. With a lot of 32 ohms, you can get 1240 milliwatts at the balanced output and 350 milliwatts at the single-ended output. This is a lot, and for me personally it means that the DX300 is able to play normally any headphones. For those who are really curious, I will say that in the N22 test the player scored more than 170,000 points. It means that mobile gaming is at your service as well. To control the sound, the player has 5 built-in filters, 3 gain levers, graphic and parametric equalizers, everything you need in order to properly dig and tweak. Of course, I have all the equalizers turned off, the gain is almost always minimal, and the filters, well, you can hear that there is a difference, but I can't describe them in a word somehow. I choose one which seems to me the most pleasant and stopped at that. The device makes a very pleasant impression, a beautiful long body with pleasant thickness, weighty and solid. At first glance, it is clear that this is not some kind of toy, but a real source of high-quality music suitable not only as a mobile option, but also as a good transport or universal player for home system. And I do it constantly. I use it as a streamer and a player connecting to the full-size amplifier. Well, I inevitably have to talk about the sound, which is quite difficult because normally it depends on the headphones used. But in general, as for me, the sound is very natural. Not extremely even, but clean, light, with wise thin, but without any harshness. Somehow the developers managed to make the sound very reminiscent of the sound of cord devices. And this is frankly a good achievement. And yet, for all its accuracy and naturalness, the sound of the player is a bit like a tube sound, barely, almost imperceptibly, with some special color. The DX300 is interesting to listen to. Details do not absorb attention, they are available, but the priority is music, melody, harmony, the creation of pleasant and non-tiring timbre. The sound, especially in the middle, gravitates toward a soft presentation, without harshness and anger. It is said to focus more on low harmonics, which adds weight and texture, but takes away the pungency. The player paints the scene just magnificent. It is not so much simplistically wide to the right and left, it gives the impression of being very deep and expanding in space already somewhere in the front, which undoubtedly benefits the positioning. Complete with suitable headphones, you can confidently say not only where the performer is, but also how sideways he is in relation to the imaginary listener. The sound of the DX300 also surprised with a very interesting saturation. It draws a lot of details, but they are not dumped in a dense heap that overloads the hearing and the brain. On the contrary, they are expanded into large panorama, which however is very detailed. Like a big picture, which the more you look, the more details you find. The balanced output is especially good in all quantities. Power, pressure, breadth, transparency of sound, everything is perfect. And yet at the moment the DX300 is a player with one of the lowest background noise level. Black background, as they say. And this is very positive when working with sensitive earphones like Campfire Solaris or Andromeda. With them the sound becomes naturally almost liquid and physically tangible. As you already understand, I was very pleased with the DX300 at the moment. In this price category it is definitely one of the best players. And no matter how annoying anyone is, I praise him very much and I can recommend it without fear. In any case, these are my personal impressions. Subscribe to the channel, give it thumbs up, do not get sick and listen to good music. There are still a lot of interesting things ahead. The playlist, as always, is in the description. Now not only on Tidal but also on Spotify. That's all. Bye bye.